Today's AskReddit post. Kids born to teen moms. How different is your life compared to other kids? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. When friends would come over for the first time growing up, I'd get a lot of, "I didn't know you had an older sister." I don't. That's my mother. Also, since my mom and I are only 16 years apart, we ended up liking a lot of the same music, which made going to concerts a lot easier, because we'd often wanna go to the same shows. So, I've definitely seen a lot more bands than friends. My mother resented me and the freedom I had as a teen and young adult. I got to do and experience so many things she didn't get to by choice. On her side, I come from a long line of teen moms, but I didn't make that mistake. I was 27 when my daughter was born, and my daughter is almost 22 and no kids yet, so the cycle is broken on our branch at least. Jesus Christ, dude, you hit the nail on the head with this one. My mother never wanted me to succeed out of pure jealousy, and would sometimes go to great extents to stop me from succeeding at something. Okay, you guys are inadvertently helping me understand years of neglect and hateful behavior from my mother. Thanks. This is much cheaper than therapy. Reddit is so much cheaper than psychiatry. Am I right? If you're in the USA, hell yeah. My mom and I are really close. She had me at 14. Growing up, I noticed a lot of my friends didn't get along with their moms. I always thought she was really relatable. We'd go eat, go shopping, get coffee, gossip, just hang out. She worked a lot, sometimes multiple jobs at once, so I felt like I did less extracurricular than my friends. But I was pretty happy growing up. She is always concerned with money. I'm starting to notice that she's not very good at saving money or planning retirement and whatnot. I once asked a family friend, now that us kids are grown, how are my parents still living paycheck to paycheck? She explained that, in her opinion, my mom basically skipped learning how to take care of herself as an adult. Instead of learning how to effectively adult, she focused on taking care of her kids. I will forever be grateful for my mom and the hard work and sacrifices she endured to raise me and my siblings. I agree with this on one side. My mom was a teen mom, but we aren't super close. Not close enough to confide in her. She was always working, so I was always taking care of my younger siblings while she was away. I ended up getting married and having my son when I was 17. He and I are really close. We have great communication and he has no problem coming and asking me for advice, which I'm so grateful for. Working to break the cycle, and so far so good. Wait, so your mom became a grandma in her late 30s? Not judging at all. I'm in my 30s and it just blows my mind a little bit. Yeah, I had a co-worker who was Hispanic and her oldest son was 22. She was 36. And he had a kid that was 4. I think her mom was in her 50s and her grandma was still kicking around in her 70s. So that's 5 generations in less than 80 years. That used to be a common thing in America, like I said. It still blows my mind. Parents still trying to grow up and learn life lessons 10 years later because they never really had the chance to while raising you. It's kinda cool though, cause then if you're aware enough you also pick up on it. My parents weren't teenagers when they had me and my sister, but they were not ready to be parents. It's wild now that I'm a grown-ass adult and my dad now has a 5-year-old. Now that he's ready and in a great relationship, he's doing a fantastic job. Sometimes I'm sad that my little brother is gonna have a relationship that I'll never get. But conversely, I'll get to be someone for him that I never had, so it'll all work out. Is it weird to be an adult with a young sibling? I had my son at 19, didn't have any more kids for reasons, but I'm still young enough we could. As an adult with a bunch of younger siblings, it's honestly not too weird. Although I don't live with them. It is a fun fact to bring up when having conversation though. Agreed. I'm quickly approaching middle age and have both an elementary aged and a middle school aged siblings. Always an easy pick for the interesting fact at work activities. One of my friends has a teen mom. She doesn't talk about it too much, but she says that it's nice how all family members, great grandparents, are still alive. Ideally, they should have the advantage of multiple caregivers. I would think with everyone still so young, everyone is still working versus having older retired grandparents. This tends to be the case. I work at an OB-GYN clinic and young mothers often have no family to help out because even their grandparents are still working. It's a huge problem passed down through generations because the kids usually don't have enough positive adult contact mentoring in their lives because everyone is working their asses off. To avoid the same mistake, I would also assume there is a huge correlation between the wealth of a family and the age they have children. It's really a vicious cycle of poverty, poor education, and then being forced into working your ass off in a shit job at a young age because you have a child and your family is poor, thus making you poor. It's horrible. I went to school with a girl who had her first child at 14. She had 2 more before graduation. At the age of 28 she became a grandmother. The child-born's great-great-great-grandmother was alive and only 82. If she lives until 96, she can meet her great-great-great-great-grandkid. I feel like that's approaching some human record. That would be like Jonathan Joestar meeting Jolene. That'd be amazing. But not in the real-life context here. Nah, it's the perfect context. Jonathan comes from the Victorian period and Jolene is from the modern era. It highlights how far apart they are. My mother resented me. Still does actually. But it's lessened over the years. It was apparently my fault she missed her teen years. So she dropped me off at a relative's in another state when I was a toddler and hitchhiked around the country for a year. As I grew up I was screamed at and beaten for looking like my biological father. She didn't trust me a bit because of it. I had to get permission to step outside to get the mail. Couldn't bathe myself until I was a teenager. Couldn't do homework with others. I don't think it has ever occurred to her I'm not guilty of anything. But in her eyes, being my father's daughter is enough. I'm so sorry. Edit. Please do not post any more comments asking Emmy to get in touch with them. I am not going to read the comments before you ask questions. My bio parents were 14 and 15 when I was born. They opted for a closed adoption, but my bio mom did leave a thoughtful gift for me. My mom told me that my bio mom was very kind and through the pregnancy was always really worried about me. She made a lot of watercolor paintings with poems for me when she was pregnant and gave them to my mom. My mom had them bound in a book for me and would read them to me when I was little. Some of them talk about how she can feel me moving around and what my heartbeat sounded like. It's odd because they really look like a child did them and I can't believe how much she went through at a young age. I think this made me more compassionate towards girls than other boys were in middle school and high school. And what a meaningful gift. And that's a great perspective to have. Such a bittersweet read. 3 and they definitely did the best thing they could have done for you. My mom was 18. So my aunt and uncle are only 10 years older than me. My uncle is 6 years, so I got to do all kind of rad stuff with my aunt and uncle like skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding. They were and are more like a brother and sister. Real dad as a pose. My mom fell in love at 20 with a 40-year-old. They are still together 38 years later. Raised me like his own. He had 5 other kids. So I had all kinds of brothers and sisters and tbh a better life than if my real dad stuck around. That first part is so nice. I love all of my nephews and nieces, but those born when I was a teen are my favorites because we spent so much time together doing fun stuff. Sorry your dad sucks. But I'm glad that all worked out for you. It's all good. I was angry for like 30 years. As I got older, I realized I was pretty lucky to have my stepdad. I met every one of my grandparents, and some of my great-grandparents too. Mom had me when she was 16 and dad was 20. I got to meet 2 great-grandparents who were born in the late 1800s and one born in 1910 to 1920. I can't really remember one of them, but the other 2 I do. The youngest one was creepy AF. She practiced Appalachian folk magic. I am 38 and my great-grandmother just died last year. She was the oldest person in New Mexico. She got to meet 6 of her great-great-grandchildren. Whoa, that is really cool. My teen mom, less money, less patience, dated more men, has been divorced several times. My SOS teen mom, lots of money, lots of patience, Dated 2 men. Only divorced once. I think it is more the person than the age that makes a difference. Edit. The reason my Mill had more money is because she had a good personality and was able to get good jobs. She was able to advance her career, was financially responsible with spending, worked very hard to get her college degree, and this was 40 plus years ago, so the cost of living and wage were more comparable. The reason my mother didn't have more money, she is hard to get along with and struggled to get a good job. When she did get a good job, she was not financially responsible. The divorces caused her to lose most all of her gain sums because she chose to walk away rather than split assets. My mother also got a college degree and still struggles with jobs because she argues so much. Lastly, none of them were strippers escorts. They are very close in age. Both had little no parental support. My Mill having moved to the US away from the Philippines and my mother was kicked out. Thank you and good night. And what other support they have from family like their own parents? While this is totally true, when I listed my comparison of my mother and Mill, it was based off the fact that they had very similar parental support, which is to say, next to no support. How did your SOS teen mom get lots of money? A colleague of mine was a teen mom. Saddled with a dipshit baby daddy, she left. She had a few years on me in grad school. That woman is the goddamn patron saint of hustle. A thriving multi-state business with kids in high school right now. She has my complete respect. Never underestimate drive and smarts. They aren't miracle workers, but they aren't slouches either. I was a teen mom. I asked my 16-year-old what differences he saw from himself and friends, and his response was not much difference other than we are more likely to like the same music. Plus, since he never lived the other side, it's kinda hard to really know what is different, unless you also have a kid right now. Similar to me, I'm a twin and often get asked how it's like to be a twin. But I don't know what it's like to not be a twin. Edits. Spelling grammar. So you know how there's 2 of you? Imagine there not being that. Well, but we are different people with different interests. And contrary to popular belief, we each are a full person and not 1/2 of one. I've noticed that I didn't have the same opportunities as other kids because being a teen mom can lead you down a road of struggle and poverty if you don't have help from family. I've always wanted to play sports, but she could never afford the equipment needed at school to be a part of it. Mentally, I've had to mature faster at a young age because she was still a kid herself. It's unnerving to think teachers would tell me I seemed older than my age at 10 years old. I still remember not being able to afford soccer 2 seasons for my daughter, and it still hurts. My mom was a teen mom, and when she was able to pay for Christmas without borrowing money from family members, you could really tell how proud she was. I'm an early 2000s baby. My mom really liked emo music when I was little, so I considered myself emo at 6. I remember sitting in the backseat of my mom's 4Runner and listening to Mindless Self-Indulgence, MCR, Blink-182, American Football, Fall Out Boy, Taking Back Sunday, and all the late 90s early 2000s emo music. I got to watch a lot of 90s cartoons along with 2000s stuff because it was what my mom watched, and we always had fun sitting on the couch watching TV. I had a really good childhood. Me and my mom were always friends. She is great mom, and I always look up to her for being a badass young single mom who raised me alone. Pretty much the same for me. It's nice having the same interests as your parents. Sometimes I think my mom's life would have been better if I wasn't born, or at least born when she was an adult. I went into a deep depression over this realization. My mom probably would have been happier if I'd never been born. But I eventually realized that even though my mom would have been happier, I'm not responsible for her happiness. She's gotta make her own choices and live her own life. I was a teen mom, late teens but still young, and more often than not people assume that the kids are my siblings. Now that I'm a bit older and have a couple, it's less so. It is scary to think I could be a grandparent at 40 though, haha. My kids are still young, so as they get older I'll make sure I take into account their feelings about how they feel about having a young mom. Mom was 17 when I was born, 22 when I went to kindergarten, 28 when I went to middle school, 32 when I graduated high school. 35 when I had my first kid. That kid is 35 and just had his first kid. I'd say he's broken the cycle. This is so trippy. So your mom was 35 when she became a grandma. Since you had a kid. And your kid, aka your mom's grandson, is 35 and has his own kid, which is your grandson. So your mom is only 70 years old and is a great grandma to your grandson. Row. Pros. I know my great grandma. Cons. I don't know my parents. Lesson to take out of this. Don't have children as a teenager. The age difference between me and my brother is 22 years. 23 for my sisters. I also know people my age with children the same age as my siblings, so it's a bit weird. My husband's nephew is a month younger than husband's sister. So husband's mom and other sister were pregnant at the same time. My mom ended up having 7 kids by 3 different dads and she's not even 45. She's never had a relationship with a guy that didn't involve her getting pregnant immediately, and despite being second oldest, I have no personal mother-daughter relationship with her. She started at 16. Teenagers aren't known for their great decisions. Probably have hotter moms. There's always that one friend's mom. Hell yeah, my friend Stacy's is a real looker. She's got it going on. Is she still on her business trip? Parents constantly work to make a living. I also never experienced such gifts as a car for my birthday or anything like that. My parents are hardworking and are always trying to grow financially. It shocked me knowing they were getting hit hard by society, in a sense of money, adulting, etc. So it shocked me knowing all of that was happening at the same time I was in elementary. Very loving though. They taught me how to be a hard worker and not be materialistic. My mom and I both suffered because she got pregnant with me at 19. I had to watch her start her career. I watched her struggle through years of financial hardship. I saw her go through lots of cars that would end up dying on her within a couple of months because they were some of the crappiest cars ever made. I couldn't really go through college because I needed a co-signer for loans and her credit wasn't good enough for it. I saw her suffer through the recession. I saw her cry because she'd get passed up for promotions because she had to stay home to take care of us too many days. She got married way too early on in a relationship because she wanted us to be stable, and I had to watch the fallout from that. This year, in her 40s, she finally got her first nice car with a great APR. Before that, any car was always from a buy here pay here and had things falling apart off of it before it even left the lot. My mom gets mistaken for my sister more than the average mother would. People are always surprised she has a 20-year-old. And believe it or not, we have completely different tastes in music. My mom also gets mistaken for my sister all the time. Most of the time it was by school friends or teachers when they first met her. Most recent one was yesterday. A friend saw my graduation photo and said she didn't realize I had a sister. I think my favorite instance happened when I was 5. We were at a carnival and the Ferris wheel cage rocked back and scared me. So I go, "Mommy," and the attendant looks over like, did she just say mommy? Teen parents. No money. They hated each other. Hated me as a result. Didn't have any idea how to raise a child. Now I'm super ducked up and ashamed of my own existence to the point that shame is the controlling emotion of my life and everything I do seems to be based in some sort of guilt or shame. I feel guilty that I exist and it's ducking killing me, man. A message from a dad to you. I truly believe you are not worthless and have a bright future ahead of you. Your life is a gift to everyone you meet, even if they don't realize it yet. Your footing in life may seem slippery right now, but with some focus and determination, you will stand strong and proud. I know this because I'm already proud of you. Virtual hug if you will accept it. Not a kid anymore, but my parents were 17 and 18 when I was born. Now in my 40s. My parents are just over 60 and still healthy. My parents have been active my whole life and WEUG while I was a kid. It makes for some low budget experiences as a kid, but at the same time the parents were engaged and able to keep up. Parents were 18 when they had me. I got lucky. They loved each other and are still together today. Almost 32 years later, I had a great home life with great parents. That being said, I had to put up with a relentless onslaught of MILF jokes starting at age 13ish. Even had a teacher say something along the lines of "Damn tight-eye the fire guy, your mom is smoking hot. She's single?" after a parent-teacher conference night in middle school in front of the class. Should have reported his creep ass. Wildly unprofessional and inappropriate. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.